You can break free from the conditioning that prevents you from really living the life that you want, the life that simply feels right for you, the life that's actually a good fit for you. A lot of this conditioning, when you're very stuck in it, you don't really recognize that you're stuck in conditioning. You have beliefs like, this is just who I am, this is just how the world works, this is just what it is. When in actuality, it isn't. So in this video, I want to go a little bit in depth on this idea of just breaking out of your conditioning in order to make powerful changes in your life. So we got to get into the idea of what even is conditioning, essentially. Conditioning is basically just a bunch of patterns that have repeated themselves so much over time to the point where they become a part of your identity. You actually start to identify with this conditioning. So if I ask you, what is your identity right now, you can get an idea of what your conditioning is like. So I'll do it for me. I'm Lucas, and I make YouTube videos, and I coach people, etc. Right? So conditioning is not like bad, right? Conditioning isn't like this evil thing or anything like that. We just got to look into, is this conditioning desirable? Does it really fit us? Is it what our body wants right now? Is it what our nervous system is guiding us towards? And in a lot of cases, it isn't. So a lot of our conditioning gets picked up, of course, through childhood, past experiences, etc. It happens unconsciously. And then we kind of have this dysfunctional condition that doesn't really fit us, and this guides us through life. And it often represses a lot of our more natural impulses. It represses the information that our nervous system keeps trying to tell us, the information that our body keeps trying to tell us. It kind of blocks out the intuition quite a lot. So, in essence, conditioning is a bunch of patterns that habitually repeat themselves to the point of solidification. They become a part of your identity. This is essentially the subconscious mind. The subconscious mind basically picks things up and starts forming patterns out of them, and they just repeat themselves mechanically and unconsciously. So the subconscious isn't bad, identification's not bad. This is just a part of human experience. Conditioning is not bad. Everything is conditioning in the world of form. To have a heart that beats is a form of conditioning. We're just trying to look into, is this conditioning, does it really fit us? Is it actually true to us, or is it like a mind virus that we've picked up on? An emotional, psychological virus that we've kind of picked up on that's controlling us? And well, yes, there's probably a lot of that going on in your mind that you're probably not aware of, because it's pretty difficult to do this kind of work, to be honest. It requires a very sincere heart and some deep dedication to this. It takes a while too. There's a process to this kind of stuff. So essentially, that's the definition I'm going to leave here of conditioning, right? That's enough of an idea for you to understand exactly what I'm talking about when I'm using the word conditioning. So a lot of your conditioning is made up of beliefs, emotional charges, and a bunch of stuff that gets stored in the body over time. Tensions, stuck energies, basically an inability for the energy in your body to move and flow. There's blocks, there's tensions, rigidities, closures, contractions. So in a sense, your body really, like just the pure flow of sensation and energy all throughout your body, this is such a powerful pointer to your conditioning. Because if you actually start to look at your body, there's tensions, and then there's all sorts of blocks, and you can't really fully inhabit your body. It can feel kind of numb, it can feel kind of dull. You don't even really feel connected to your body. You're not able to listen to what your nervous system is trying to tell you, to what your body's trying to tell you, right? You struggle with it. There's beliefs that aren't even yours, that have these strong emotional charges attached to them, that are stuck in the body. Right? There's these avoidance mechanisms and coping mechanisms that, right, again, stuck in the body. So your conditioning, I want you to just keep in mind that it's not this sort of like cave in the back of your mind that you got to go in there with this candle and take out the cobwebs, and it's this unconscious mind. It's actually right here in your experience, and it's always playing itself out moment by moment by moment. The thing is, though, is that you're not actually aware of your experience right now. Even as I'm talking, how aware are you of your experience? Are you aware of the sensations of your butt on the floor that you're sitting on, or the chair? For me right now, it's the floor. Or the feeling in your hands, or the thoughts that are arising in your mind? Are you just able to observe them? Right? Are you able to just watch this stuff arise and then pass? See, most of the time we're actually just living on autopilot. Right? We're just, all this conditioning's playing itself out. We're not very aware of it. We're very identified with it. We think this is just who we are, what life is, how it works, etc. And this conditioning just plays itself out. And your destiny, in a sense, is very predictable, because you just look at your conditioning and the patterns of your conditioning, and we can see where that's going to lead you. We can kind of see what you're going to build out of your life based off of your conditioning. So awareness begins to break the conditioning. It's actually quite simple. It's not very complex. These ideas aren't very complex. The complexity here, the hard part really, is in being conscious of yourself. It's in doing the psychological work. Understanding this as just a pure theory is super easy, but beginning to ground this stuff into your life, this is the stuff that gets tricky, because then when you try and change, you feel fear and you judge yourself and you criticize yourself and you're perfectionistic and you cling on to certain things, and there's all this sort of like turmoil and inner struggling that goes on. So a lot of what your conditioning basically revolves around is closures, tensions in the body, forms of trauma. Trauma can be a very dramatic word, but basically wounding, ways that you have disassociated from yourself, ways that you've disconnected from yourself, areas of your body that you're not inhabiting, that you're not connected to, areas of your body where you've withdrawn awareness from, and you have trouble just resting in those areas of your body because they're so tense. They're always in like this fight or flight kind of state, essentially. Right? Beliefs with emotional charges attached to them that get deeply stuck in certain areas of the body, and they start pulling you into fight or flight again. So like I said, awareness of conditioning breaks the conditioning. The thing is here, though, is that you really need to dedicate time to becoming aware of yourself. This isn't like I'm aware of it, and then like you kind of go to the movies and start eating popcorn kind of thing. It's like really doing this kind of work takes a sincere heart. It's going to take more than just watching a YouTube video. So awareness here basically just means simply observing without having a thought about your conditioning, right? You can think about your conditioning, right? And I'll talk about that soon, right? But right now we're just talking about awareness, just observing. Essentially, it's just observing conditioning without needing to think about it, without needing to do anything to it whatsoever. It's just that we're observing it, right? We're watching it play out in real time. And this subtle shift from identification with conditioning to observing it begins to create an inner psychological space that allows us to process a lot of feelings that arise with conditioning, because a lot of this stuff is energy in the body. It's feelings and the flow of sensation stuck in the body, tensions, etc. So awareness here basically involves observing, proactively feeling, like really focusing on feeling, getting in touch with the sensations in the body, and connecting to yourself, right? You need that felt sense of connection to your own being, the feeling of what it's like to be you. You have to learn to inhabit your body rather than always trying to like disconnect and escape from it. So your body is very, very intelligent. Your nervous system is very intelligent. It's always giving you a lot of profound messages, but a lot of our childhood conditioning prevents us from really tuning into it. It's in childhood where we learn to disconnect from our true impulses, our instincts, our intuition, in favor of approval, essentially. Listening to what people say, believing it, and then just like running off of that. Right? We pick up all these mind viruses, essentially. Mental, emotional viruses. Because a lot of beliefs are very emotionally held. They form our sense of identity. Right? They form our sense of reality. So it's not just abstract and cognitive. It's like, it's your very sense of what reality is and what your sense of self is. That's why it's so hard, because, you know, this stuff is so foundational to your survival, right? And when we start tinkering with that, it's easy to get reactive. There's fear and, reactivity and all sorts of repressed emotions that come up, right? Because you have all these sort of illusions constructed in order to repress all this kind of stuff. And essentially what I'm saying in this video is like, let's like start tearing apart some of these illusions, process what comes up, and begin to open ourselves up to life. Begin opening to ourselves. Begin opening to to the present, rather than always being so closed and in fight or flight and like on this sort of like paranoid lookout mode. It's like we're regulating the nervous system. We're getting out of survival mode. We're slowly being able to see reality more clearly by actually, processing all this inner junk within us. So simply observing, feeling, and connecting to yourself begins to break conditioning. A very powerful way to do this is meditation. I've talked to quite a few of you one-on-one. A lot of people will have this idea that meditation is like I'm going for a walk in the woods, or, I'm sitting and drinking tea, looking out the window. Meditation is not that, right? All that's great, absolutely fantastic. If you've never developed a formal meditation practice, like a Vipassana meditation practice, you gotta really look into this one. You need dedicated time where you're gonna sit with yourself in a completely undistracted way, close your eyes, be alert, be watchful of what's going on inside of you. Because essentially, this is a practice, right? This is a skill. You have to develop this pathway of connection to yourself, or else it's just not gonna develop. And just drinking tea or watching, I don't know, going for a walk in the woods, it's not really going to do that. You have to begin to practice something in a more dedicated way. And then as you begin to build up this sort of muscle, this mindfulness muscle, you can begin to bring that into experiences of walking in the woods or drinking tea. So then the entire boundary between what meditation is and isn't begins to blur. So moving on, learning psychology and actually learning psychotherapy. I actually have a free book list, right? I've read literally hundreds of books, and I'm going to be updating it soon. I haven't updated it since like July 2023, but there's a therapy and healing section there. I recommend just like going through a few of those books, buying them, and actually just reading them, because you actually need a good understanding of this stuff. You have to return to these concepts over and over and over again in order to build up your understanding, apply it to your life, and then you'll start to see more changes. Right? So just to repeat my last point, a formal meditation practice where you're really building up that mindfulness muscle, you're really detaching from thoughts, detaching from feelings, right? And you're using that detachment to really begin to see yourself more clearly and then fully inhabiting yourself. So it's not this cold detachment where you're disconnected from yourself. It's actually this detachment in the sense where like you're just observing it, and through this awareness you can fully inhabit it, but in a conscious way. So right now it's like you're stuck in pure identity mode, and it's like this mess. It's like this mess of thoughts and feelings, and it's like this kind of like chaos. And then becoming aware of it begins to kind of clean it up automatically, right? Awareness alone is curative, begins to kind of organize your experience a lot better, right? And then we're kind of beginning to deconstruct this witness as well, the sense of separate witness from the observed phenomena, right? We're kind of like bringing awareness into our experience fully. We're bringing pure empty consciousness into the world of form fully so that it can manifest completely fully without any restrictions, total freedom, blah, blah, blah. So like I said, learning psychology, got a lot of psychology books on my book list too. Learning some psychotherapy, No Bad Parts by Richard Schwartz, Bringing Your Shadow Out of the Dark, Trauma and the Unbound Body. Right? You need to have a good mental model in your mind of how this stuff works, and then you apply that to your experience while letting go of the mental model. So it's like you get these ideas, and it's like this roadmap to where you want to go, right? But then like once you're in the experience, it's like drop the ideas because they're going to be a block, essentially, right? You got to move into experience very directly, right? So some of this stuff can be kind of confusing. If you have any questions, let me know in the comment section below. Other than that, I'm currently doing one-to-one coaching. You can check it out. Link is in the pinned comment. You can book a call if you feel drawn to doing that, feeling drawn to working with me. Other than that, take it easy.